Good evening, everyone. In March 2025, Netflix released a gripping 4-part drama titled Adolescence, created by Stephen Graham and Jack Thorne. Set in a northern British town, the series delves into the harrowing story of 13-year-old Jamie Miller, who is accused of murdering his schoolmate. What sets this series apart is its unflinching portrayal of how digital culture, particularly online, misogyny and radicalisation, shapes the identities of young boys today. Media serves as a site where identity can be challenged or reshaped. At its core, Adolescence examines the influence of media on the formation of identity, particularly towards young boys. We are living at a time where information online is accessible anywhere and to anyone. The media becomes a powerful tool in shaping perceptions, beliefs, and behaviours, and majorly towards young people who have not formed their own true opinions yet. The media can hugely influence us in many positive ways, but also in many negative ways. The series highlights how Jamie's immersion in online communities that promote toxic masculinity and misogyny leads to a distorted sense of reality and a confused understanding of relationships and gender roles. The way in which Jamie shapes his identity through what we see him consume online is interesting and informative. His life seems to be a normal northern child's life in the current age, which I'm sure many viewers can relate to. His relationship with his parents seems fairly stable, and he has a life that most of us would not be concerned by. However, due to the influence the media has on him, he goes to perform this major crime. It is an extreme but sadly realistic. The theory of identity is shown here through the media creating his mindset. It is a difficult thing to comprehend, but it is truly more dangerous than we realise. With the amount of time children spend on their devices and the influence characters online can have, these children truly believe it's right. Whether we realise it or not, every single day we are further shaping our opinions, identity and conscience through our consumption of media, whether this be positive or negative. Knowledge plays a pivotal role in the narrative of Adolescence. The series portrays the dangers of unregulated media consumption and the importance of critical media literacy. Jamie, like many other young children, consumes content without fully understanding its implications and circumstances, leading to the internalisation of harmful ideas. Highlighting the importance for education systems and parents to equip young individuals with the skills to understand media and know what is right and what is wrong. Jamie's knowledge has been constructed through what he sees online. These ideas of toxic masculinity and misogyny are a negative example of this. The theory of knowledge involves spreading information and misinformation, providing certain representations of people and creating a cultural understanding. As we all know, this varies depending on what one would intake or consume online. However, in Jamie's case, this was negative. The media he was consuming truly influenced him and made him believe this certain attitude of life towards women and how a real man should be. The theory of knowledge and identity is vital towards understanding what the media can do to our brains and why this young boy committed such an extreme crime. The release of Adolescence has led to a societal wake-up call for many parents and generally people all over the world. It has sparked significant discussions across various platforms, and in the UK the series became the most watched streaming television show in a single week, with over 96 million views in its first 3 weeks. Its impact was so profound that it promoted political leaders to advocate for its inclusion in educational curricula, aiming to address issues like misogyny and online radicalisation. The series is commended for its unflinching portrayal of contemporary issues such as toxic masculinity online, radicalisation, and the impact of social media on youth. It has been described as a shattering portrait of incel culture by The Guardian, where, as The Times has stated, a notable critique is the lack of the perspective from the victim's family. Some reviewers feel that this omission limits the series' exploration of the full impact of the crime and complexities of the situation. There is much debate about the series that is up in the air at the moment, with opinions on whether we were given enough information and how to look at the circumstances of the boy. However, overall, I believe the series did an amazing job at portraying the negative effects of influence within media towards young boys, with influences such as Andrew Tate promoting toxic masculinity and misogyny, which have been seen to lead to a concerning shift in attitude towards young boys. Surveys indicate that a substantial number of boys aged 6 to 15 are aware of Andrew Tate, with 60% of boys in this age group having heard of him. This is an example of the influence of media spreading and becoming much more accessible. Since this raising issue, and due to the release of Adolescence, Keir Starmer has expressed strong support for the series, even stating that he and his own family has watched it. He describes the issues young boys are facing to be abhorrent and a real problem. The series is now allowed to be shown for free in schools to educate and prevent this issue from going any further. The government is also proceeding with the implementation of the Online Harms Act, which aims to regulate tech companies and ensure they take responsibility for protecting young users. I have interviewed a friend of mine who is a 20-year-old boy who has grown up with media whilst going to a public school in London, surrounded by children from multiple backgrounds, and is going to talk about his take on adolescence and his experience and opinion with media being so accessible in every concept as a young teenage boy.
I'm Tyler Tamu, I'm 19 years old, and I grew up in a West London state school that had lots of knife crime and also grew up around social media.
So I'm going to be interviewing Tyler about the series Adolescence. So Tyler, first of all, what did you think of the series?
I was really intrigued throughout the whole thing. I think the way it was filmed really keeps the audience engaged. And I think it also has a significant story to it, as it really highlighted an unfortunately common part of our youth all around the United Kingdom. From north to south, that you hear stories of boys stabbing girls. So I think that the fact that they made it into a production and made it so well was really good, and I really liked it.
Okay, so what do you think the main message Stephen Graham was trying to portray throughout this series?
The main message I got from it was surrounding a lot of incel culture. So meaning that the mindset that boys get that's shaped from the internet, mainly objectifying women, feeling that women have gained too much power and that men need to regain their dominance. It's a really extreme ideology, like the red pill theory, where men blame women for their struggles when really it's just a lack of attention from women and a lack of attention from a guide. So they look for things on the internet and doesn't always work out for the best.
Yeah, no, agreed. What do you think, like speaking about the red pill culture and incel culture, what do you think we can do as the new generation to prevent things like this happening and stop young boys from being over-influenced by negative things online?
That's a good question. I think that the first step of allowing adolescence to be shown in secondary schools was definitely the first main step, because then it can show to young people that it's not okay, like incel culture is not a right moral to have in your mind. I think it's also important that people should look out for any younger people in their life. I think especially young boys, it's really good if they have an older female figure that they can look up to. And I think just being there, because I think in Adolescence, he came from a really normal background, very normal family, mum, dad, sibling. But I think in the last episode, we really see that the dad's guilt of not being there for his son as much. Obviously, he was throughout the whole process of the plea, like the arrest and all of this, but I don't think he was there for him enough to understand what he was doing online.
Yeah, and it's scary because he was shown such, like, he was in such a stable family. Like, maybe his dad wasn't the calmest person in the room, but he was from a really stable family, and I think that shows that it doesn't matter where you come from, like, social media can just really affect you.
Yeah, it can happen to anyone.
Yeah. Do you think this series delivered an accurate representation of what social media and bullying can do?
So when I first watched it, I thought the representation of British high school was honestly spot on. I think the way that they all walk around and go to their lessons, I think they really captured the essence of how much social media can impact someone and how many messages there are in social media.
Yeah.
So for example, in the episode where the police officer went to the school and he saw his son, and his son was telling him about the Instagram comments and like what the red pill means and like what all these emojis mean. I think, and the police officer didn't take it seriously, but it really does show how much social media does impact the youth, because they wouldn't have known what the messages behind the emojis meant unless it was for...
And that's why it's so important they produce this, because now it does show parents to watch out for these tiny things that you would never even consider, like a red pill emoji. You know, like you would never even overthink that once, but I think it does show like what effect that can actually have.
I agree, and I hope that when adults do watch Adolescence, they start looking at their kids' social media, start really taking more of
A notice
into like what their kids are doing.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a struggle for the government to try and control that. But maybe an age limit on certain profiles and on certain influential figures, because I don't think all ages should be viewing certain stuff.
No. Also, I think what's really important is that you just teach your children from a young age what's right and wrong online. Like, it's not always about what they see, it's about what they know before. You know, your brain, like, you can influence a child before they see things. And they're going to trust parents more than what they see online, you know what I mean? Depending on where they come from.
I think it is most importantly the parents, the family's job.
Yeah, which I think they tried to show in the series as well. Kind of being like, is it social media or is it the parents' fault? But at the end of the day, like, it's so difficult to prevent it.
I agree.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast, Tyler.
No worries.
It's lovely having you.
Back next time.
In conclusion, Adolescence serves as more than just a television series. It's a cultural artefact that reflects the complexities of modern adolescence in the digital age. This is shown through how it explores identity and knowledge within the media. The series challenges viewers to confront uncomfortable truths about the impact of digital culture on young minds, and as we continue to navigate this digital era, Adolescence reminds us of the importance of having the conversation about the effect media can have on children, and how acts need to be put in place to prevent this from further occurring.